The Book of Enoch, banned from the Bible, tells a full, true story of history and humanity. The angels that came down to earth, the Nephilim, the Great Flood, and the ancient and advanced knowledge are some of the topics discussed in the Book of Enoch, an ancient manuscript that comprises various accounts narrated by Enoch, an attested biblical figure and grandfather of Noah, who was in direct contact with the divine creator God. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Hebrew apocalyptic religious text ascribed by tradition to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, Noah of the flood. Enoch contains unique material on the origins of demons and the Nephilim, why some angels fell from heaven, and explained the explanation of why the Genesis flood was a morally necessary event, and a prophetic exposition of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah. The older section, mainly in the Book of the Watchers, of the text are estimated to date from about 300 to 200 BC, and the latest part, the Book of the Parables, probably to 100 BC. Various Aramaic fragments found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as the Guinea Greek and Latin fragments, are proof that the Book of Enoch was known by Jews and early Near Eastern Christians. This book was also quoted by some 1st and 2nd century authors in the Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs. Authors of the New Testament were also familiar with some content of the story. A short section of Enoch 1 Enoch 1:9 is cited in the New Testament Epistle of Jude. Jude in 1:14-15, and is attributed there to Enoch the seventh from Adam. Although this section of 1 Enoch is a midrash on Deuteronomy 33:2, several copies of the earlier section of 1 Enoch were preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's not part of the biblical canon used by Jews apart from Beta Israel, Ethiopian Jews that is, while the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church and Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Christian churches consider the Book of Enoch as canonical, that is, they include it in their Bible. Other Christian groups regard it as non-canonical or non-inspired, but may accept it as having some historical or theological interest. It is today wholly extant only in the Ethiopian Ge'ez language, with earlier Aramaic fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a few Greek and Latin fragments. For this and other reasons, the traditional Ethiopian belief is that the original language of the work was Ge'ez, that is, Ethiopian, whereas modern scholars argue that it was first written in either Aramaic or Hebrew, the languages first used for Jewish texts. Ephraim Isaac suggests that the Book of Enoch, like the Book of Daniel, was composed partially in Aramaic and partially in Hebrew. No Hebrew version is known to have survived. The book itself asserts that its author was Enoch before the biblical flood. The most complete Book of Enoch comes from Ethiopic manuscripts, Mashafa Enoch, written in Ge'ez, the Ethiopian language, which were brought to Europe by James Bruce in the late 18th century and were translated into English in the 19th century. The first part of the Book of Enoch describes the fall of the Watchers, the angels who fathered the angel-human hybrids called Nephilim. The remainder of the book describes Enoch's revelations and his visits to heaven in the form of travels, visions, and dreams. In its entirety, the Book of Enoch is made up of 5 books: the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch, containing some 100 chapters. So that's quite a lot of material, 100 chapters. These chapters tell the story of the 7th patriarch in the book of Genesis, Enoch, the father of Methuselah and grandfather of Noah, the same Noah in the biblical story of Noah's Ark in the Great Flood. Yet this was not the biblical story of Noah's Ark. In fact, the Book of Enoch provides the entirely different recounting of the events leading up to the Great Flood of Noah's time, that is, a completely different doctrinal history. It tells the story of the Watchers, explaining in biblical terms to be fallen angels, sent to earth to watch over humans at some undefined and ancient point in time. So they came from somewhere else, obviously. Unfortunately, far from merely watching humans, these watchers became infatuated by human women and in short order began to engage in depraved sexual acts with them. The Book of Enoch tells of the children born through this interbreeding being watchers and humans called the Nephilim. These Nephilim were, as described, giants and savages that endangered and pillaged humanity, or said another way, supernatural man-eating giants, aka the Cyclops of the ancient Greek myths, if they were myths. Now, angered with what the Watchers had done, those described as gods chained them in a subterranean prison deep within the earth, aka what Alexander the Great did. Enoch became the go-between between the gods and imprisoned Watchers. And this is on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Now, we do have a lot of ancient texts in the Greek mythology having to do with the battle of the Titans and the battle of the giants. Also, we have the viper, the half woman, half snake entity that was seducing men and then, of course, doing away with them. And then we have Erechtheus, the first king of Athens, who was, the top half was man, human that is, and the bottom half was coils of snakes. And these are supposedly the ancient Greek myths. Of course, they have minotaurs that were the top half cattle, ox, and the bottom half man. And these were various entities of the fallen angels, things that even Alexander the Great, around 330 BC, encountered in his campaigns towards the east. The Nephilim that he didn't do away with, he locked in underground prisons, covered the openings with various metals, and built pyramids above. So the texts go. So they did exist. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.